All right, good morning, everybody. This is Thursday morning's edition of Ask the Master Auto Technician. Sometimes I have to figure out what morning it is. It's early. And one of the things we talk about is cars, what's going on in cars, and the future of automotive repair, and what's happening in Washington, how all that kind of works all together. I had someone the other day say, how does politics and cars go together? Because you talk about politics sometimes. I said, well, the car you drive, the safety features in your car, the type gasoline, the type oil, the type everything, from all the way from your headlights to your taillights, are determined by politics. Believe it or not, I'm serious. They make determination. And Washington gets together and says, okay, we want this kind of car with this kind of gas mileage, this type engine, because our scientists have proven that we need to have low emissions and things like that. So that's sometimes why politics and cars kind of go together, because, well, they do go together, because you can't have one without the other, apparently, it seems like. And politics and cars are part of the American life out there, whether we like it or not. Speaking of that, part of the American life is Rob Lapham calling all the way from Mexico Beach, or should I say St. Joe. But anyway, good morning, Rob. How are we doing today, sir?
Hey, James, doing really well. How are you?
Doing very well. I'm just sitting here trying to think about how I was telling people how, on the opening monologue, how politics and cars kind of go together. I mean, from our headlights to our taillights is all determined by politics. I mean, even the oil, the type fuel we use, unleaded, ethanol, all that has to do with political maneuvering in the background. I think ethanol is what is it? Ethanol is what, a $4 billion or $8 billion subsidy a year that the government puts together to help the American people by, subsidizing their gas prices by adding ethanol fuel to it. Because if you didn't have ethanol in it, it would be over $3 and almost $4 a gallon. And I'm just...
Yeah, it's a racket. Of course, if you're a corn farmer in Iowa, I suppose you'll like it, but it really ought to be done away with and let the free market work its will as far as what's in gasoline.
I will say that not just Iowa. When I went to visit my family a few years ago in Arkansas, about 10 years ago, I was just amazed, not even that long ago, I was amazed how many cornfields have taken the place of soybean fields and cotton fields in Arkansas, because they're selling the corn for ethanol. And I tell people, I said, ethanol isn't as good as you think it is for your car. And I kind of look at me and go, well, it's cleaner. And I said, well, what do you mean cleaner? I said, well, it doesn't put out as much pollution. I went, well, yeah, you might say that, but it takes a lot more energy. It doesn't produce as much energy, so you don't get the gas mileage you would get out of regular fuel without ethanol. There's a lot of things that, well, it sounds good at first, but when you start looking behind the curtain, so to speak, you realize it's not as good as it should be. And ethanol is a perfect example of, to me, a way to tear people's cars up, to spend money needlessly, and to pick the winners and losers, all in the name of being politically correct. And
James, if ethanol had a net positive effect as a gasoline additive or part of the fuel for driving for powering cars, then it would be in gasoline absent any government mandate for it to happen. The very fact that the government feels obligated to, and our congressmen feel obligated to pass laws to mandate that whatever it is, 10% or something, fuel contain ethanol. It's a political game. I mean, aside from the taking away farmlands for growing other more, productive products, or just letting the free market work, it's a scam. I think it's in some way tied to, it's probably some of the global warming people feel, oh, this is going to help our environment or whatever. But that's not conclusively proved. And again, if it was good for us, then private industry would have it in there and wouldn't need any legislation to accomplish it. So I'm very well opposed to ethanol, and frankly, I just assume that it not be around.
Well, I explained to someone the other day that ethanol fuel, if you bought a gallon of ethanol fuel and you bought 10% ethanol and you buy a gallon of non-ethanol fuel, the gallon of non-ethanol fuel will give you better fuel mileage, give you better power, more power. Well, I should know. Give you better fuel mileage, and you get more heat, because there's more heat in that gallon of non-ethanol fuel than the gallon of with ethanol in it. And it all boils down to kind of like giving you a warm fuzzy, kind of like, oh, we're helping the environment. But I tell you what, if you go to a meeting about ethanol, because I've gone to a couple of them before, the people that are they're lobbying for ethanol, it's not so much the farmers, and it's definitely not the mechanics out there, even though I told them up there I wish they'd run it to 15% when I went to Tallahassee. That way more fuel pumps would tear up. They didn't like that when I told them that. They kind of looked at me like, what are you saying? I went, run more ethanol, because the more you run, the more cars tear up, because I love the way that solvent does a great job of ripping those fuel pump bearings out. And it's just a wonderful thing, and us mechanics love it all the way to the bank. And I was saying that facetiously, and I think they understood what I was saying. But the point I'm trying to say, it is the oil industry. When I was in Tallahassee lobbying to make back, I want to say back in 2013, somewhere in that area, 2012, 2013, they were trying to make it mandatory where you could not buy ethanol-free fuel to put into your vehicle. You could only buy it to put into a boat or a farm tractor, but you could not put it on the road, even though they were going to charge road tax on it still. And they said no. And I went up there and I said, if it was so good, ethanol is so good, let the free market decide what's good. Well, since that time, they voted to allow ethanol-free fuel to be sold. And as you may have noticed in the last few years, there's a lot of stations popping up that say ethanol-free fuel available here now. And the reason is because people realize they get better fuel mileage. They actually do. It's better on your car, and your car is designed to work on ethanol-free fuel. It's not designed, most cars, I mean, if it's from 2008 and newer, it knows it's there, and it's been engineered for it, but it would prefer to have non-ethanol fuel, and as far as gas mileage. But it's just one of those things that drive me crazy, and I know that it all has to do with people. They're taking away something. They're manipulating the free market. That's the way I look at it. As libertarians, we think the free market should be allowed to rise or fall on its own merits. And we see this, well, I think you see it in Washington as well as you see it here, even in our local governments. I mean, the things that our local governments do to, quote, keep business or do things, sometimes don't always work out the way they think they're going to work out. And it sometimes ends up biting us on the hiney. And I'm just kind of wanting to know your viewpoint.
You consistently have a habit of taking a politically correct issue and smashing it to smithereens with the facts. And I'm sure that annoys the left no end.
Well, it annoys the right too sometimes. I mean, it does, because I got people all the time talking about, we're fighting for our freedoms and all this stuff right here, and we need to go to war. And I kind of look at them. My eyes roll the back of my head and go, no, you're not being consistent. And I told someone the other day, I said, Democrats are lemmings. They follow just lemmings, and they follow what they're told to do. And Republicans are cowards. They really are. They have no backbone. At least lemmings have backbones. I will say that for but think about it. I mean, we have a Republican administrations with local, state, and they just seem to be lockstep, as best I can tell, in making government bigger. And they don't have any intention of making government smaller. Every time I turn around, they're adding more governmental employees. And I say, aren't you increasing the size of government? Oh, no, we're increasing the job force out there. I said, no, you're not. You're taking tax money and taking that and feeding people out of tax money. You're growing government. And they don't seem to grasp. They think if they give government jobs with benefits, that's how you grow our economy. Now, what do you think? Is that how you grow our economy, with government jobs?
Well, obviously it's not, but I think the people who say that also have an inherent belief that somehow a person working as a bureaucrat in a government job is somehow more efficient, more effective. The government will take care of us. They have altruistic motives, all of this type of thing, whereas in fact, so many people who work for the government have this level of job security, which hopefully is being eaten away at. If you can't get fired for a job, too many people take advantage of that. And frankly, more government employees in any industry you can think of is nonsense. We absolutely need less, and we need smaller government, not just for the economic benefit that it would provide to the country, but to get rid of so much inefficiency, waste, and federal bureaucrats in particular, and that's the area that I seem to spend most of my time looking at.
Well, I thought you were describing I thought you were describing the local school districts. That's what I thought you Think about it. For every, I wonder how many bureaucrats are out there working in administration for every one teacher there is out there. I bet you the numbers have gradually increased for, of administration. I mean, we got the Balboa building over here. I call it the Taj Mahal. And that's where all the administration is. And when you can't teach anymore, they kick you upstairs to the administration building. I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen teachers.
And part of that is our legislators again, and that will go to state as well as federal.
Yeah.
Got a bunch of people at a school district administration function, or for example, writing grants. They seem to have to write grants because you can't get the money otherwise.
Yeah.
And again, are the educators teaching in the classroom where the kids have a benefit? No, they're sitting back writing some baloney that will be read by some other baloney bureaucrats and dole out money. That's not the way it ought to be. Education traditionally was supported locally, ought to be supported locally. I would dump the Federal Bureau of Education in a heartbeat if we get rid of that agency. One bad thing that Reagan did is he brought it into raised it to cabinet level.
Well,
and
now Carter had it. Carter had it before. Carter brought it in. Didn't Carter bring the Department of Education in? And then Reagan elevated it, or somewhere in that area. The point being is we survived for a long, long time without the Department of Education. And every state, if I'm not mistaken, has somewhat of a Department of Education, or every county, every state.
They do. Yeah.
And why do we need to have a major big brother looking over and say, oh, well, you're not teaching this right in California because you need to teach this in Florida, what they're teaching in California, or vice versa. I'm going, wait a minute. Shouldn't it be local? Because what we teach in Florida may not be applicable to what they teach in California as far as certain things. I mean, reading, writing, arithmetic, yes. But when it comes to certain things about our culture, our environment, I got a feeling it's all lockstep. You've got to do, it seems like it takes the individuality of the student and turns them into little, mindless zombies. But I mean, I know that's just the way I'm looking at it. And if I'm wrong, I'm sure I'll find out about it. So I have a teacher write me a nastygram. But we got about 45 seconds left here, Rob. I know I've been doing all the talking this morning. So tell me what you would do if you could wave a magic wand about these problems that we're talking about. What would you like to see happen?
Oh boy! I mean, those problems I think are too complex to even consider in 45 seconds or 45 minutes even. But I'll tell you, but there are some good things happening. I saw yesterday the president signed the right to try bill, allowing terminally ill patients to at least the right to ask the drug companies for experimental drugs.
We've been
in the right direction. I mean,
we've been asking that since I was a baby. Yes.
It's not a panacea. I mean, drug companies are still going to be worried they'll get sued because the protections are yet to be tested in law, this new law. The prison reform bill, I think there's some good stuff in that. I'm not sure if that was signed yesterday or is about to be signed, but so there are a couple of good things going, but they're far outweighed by the negative bureaucracy that we live in. So I'll leave on that pessimistic note. And maybe things will be better next week at this time.
I tell you what, I will have to say America is definitely making some positive steps. And I see a lot of people complaining that the steps don't seem to be positive enough. But I'm looking at it kind of like it's the underdogs that are actually being lifted up. The people, they're actually having the ability to make their own decisions. The right to try. People that are terminally ill, wonderful idea. These are some things that we've been trying to do for a long time. And I'll have some people out there just are not happy no matter what Trump does. Now, I didn't vote for him, but I'll be honest with you, I'm seeing things that administrations have been trying to do my entire life, like get peace with Korea. I've never seen that happen, and I'm hoping this will happen in my lifetime. Hey, I got to go. I'm up against the clock. I'll talk to you next week, Rob. I'll talk to y'all in a few minutes, everybody. Summer is here, and the days are getting longer and hotter. Call James Auto Center for a free cooling system evaluation and consultation. Give us a call, 850-763-0555 today.
Beep, 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 yeah!
Part of what I'd like to let you know is what we do and how we work our system. Basically, we've got about 700 stocking dealers scattered around the 15 counties here in the Big Bend area of the state. I run a fleet of trucks, vans, and what we call hotshot vehicles to deliver to our dealers quickly so they can help service you as fast and efficiently as they can. Provide timely and efficient service, and we're there to take care of our dealers who in turn can take care of their customers.
If you want the best deal in town for tires, you need to call Baytown Tires at 873-8900.
Hanson and the guys at Baytown Tires take pride in serving Panama City for over 20 years. Baytown Tires on Highway 98 in St. Andrews. All service work backed by a nationwide warranty.
All right, welcome back to our show. I talked to Rob Lapham about how cars are, how politics affects the gas, the oil, whatever you put in your car. And those things make differences out here. But the future of the automotive repair industry is changing. It's changing every day. I mean, we're talking about autonomous cars that have no drivers. And we're talking about, if you have no drivers, how do you know if something's not running right? How do you know if you feel a vibration? How does a car know these things? Well, they do know these things, and they'll be able to, if they see a problem, like a Tesla, they've been talking about that. They've been putting roadblocks between Tesla manufacturer and independent garages because they want them to come directly back to them where they can fix what's going on. But I don't see that being the way of the future. I see the way of the future being when a car has a problem, the independent shop or the dealer, whoever, will send you a notice saying, hey, guess what? There's a light on your dash saying, well, you've already got it right now, that says you've got an oxygen sensor out or you've got a low tire on your right rear. And that's OnStar. We already have that. That's OBD3, I call it, Onboard Diagnostics 3rd generation, where it tells you what's going on, where you got GPS in your car. And that's that's here. That is definitely here. But I see that evolving more and more and more. People are buying cars today because they're very dependable. They last a long time. They also like cars because they don't require the same amount of service they did years ago in order to get mileage out of them. And when I say, like years ago, used to be every 3 months, every 3,000 miles. You follow me on that? Change your oil. Well, people kind of got tired of that. They kind of like the idea, I bought this car because it says I can go 7,000 miles between oil changes, or I can go a year between oil changes. I just love that one. I will tell you this, there's a fine line between whatever the manufacturer says and reality. The fine line is this. Yeah, you can go 7,500 miles or 12,000 miles, and the oil is still not bad. It's the filter that clogs up that they don't talk about. And that's the purpose of the day's oils, is to keep that nasty stuff in suspension and not let it stick. So those people that are going 7,500 miles, that's really too far. I know you've been told by your manufacturer, you watch that little light on your dash. When it comes on, you go get your oil change. If you follow that explicitly, I see people that do that. And then they wonder why at 100,000 or 130,000 miles, I tell them I need to put you a new engine in. And they look at me, I had one yesterday, a 3-valve 2008 model Ford engine. And I said, sir, it's recommended that you run a synthetic blend as a minimum in this vehicle. And you've been running regular oil in this car for the last 100,000 miles. And you've been going 5,000 miles between oil changes, just like your owner's manual said you could go. That was wonderful. I mean, you the inconvenience of having to go, and every 5,000 to 6,000 miles, you got your oil changed, you put in regular oil. You were somewhat doing it right. You're getting your car looked at, but they didn't put the right kind of oil in your car, and now you need about $5,000 worth of work, or at the minimum, or probably I would recommend another engine, because I don't think you have the correct oil pressure. These cars have to have a minimum of 25 pounds of oil pressure at idle when hot in order to perform like they're supposed to. That's a lot of oil pressure, 25 pounds. Most cars, I can venture to say a lot of cars in the past, if it had 15 pounds of oil pressure, that was normal. Not today's cars. They run on a lot higher oil pressure. And I've seen cars like Nissan V6, it would be in a anyway, it was a V6. One of the Nissan vehicles, 2010 model. I looked at the type oil in it. It has a timing chain. It has timing chain actuators and all this right here. And it said 5W30 SAE 5W30. That's regular oil, non-synthetic. And then I went and looked at the same engine, the same year, same make, the same 2010 model, in a Maxima. It had the same engine. Same exact, and it recommended full synthetic oil. I'm going, amazing. Why would they do that? Well, a lot of it has to do with, like Mark Sarlo talks about, it's marketing. It's hard to market a car that requires $100 oil changes to the soccer mom out there. It really is. But it's not hard to recommend $100 oil changes to the person who's driving a hot rod Maxima around. It's got lots of horsepower. Well, it's the same engine that one of them happens to be in a crossover, they call it, and one of them happens to be in a Maxima. It's the same 3.5 V6 engine with timing chains and cam actuators, and I mean all these things. It's identical. And they started in 2008 recommending to run full synthetic oil, ester-based synthetic oil, which they don't do. I don't know any dealership that puts ester-based oil that Nissan makes in their cars, but they will put in Mobil 1 in a heartbeat. They do. I mean, just call the local dealership. What do you put in my car if I own an oil change? Mobil 1. Okay. Nothing wrong with it. I think Mobil 1's an excellent oil. I really do. I think it's a wonderful oil, but you need to have a synthetic. If you've got a timing chain in your car and you've got cam phasers and cam followers and all these things that are mechanically operated. That's it. That's the word. Not electrically, mechanically operated. They actually have to move back and forth, bathed in an oil solution. And you've got oil that goes too long, and the filter is now bypassed, where you're not filtering the oil. You've gone 6,000 miles, 7,000 miles, and it's letting that oil bypass, that dirty oil bypass the filter because it's not filtering, it's clogged up, and now it circulates through the system, and now you wear out your cam bearings, your crank, you wear everything out. And your oil pressure has to be a minimum of 25 PSI. It don't take much before I have to tell you, I can't do anything for you other than replace your engine. And you're going to see that a lot more often as the time goes on a lot of different cars out there. Please err on the side of a better oil than on the side of a cheaper oil. Yes, you can get oil changes out there for 30 bucks on these cars. Will it work? Yeah, it'll work. How long will it work? Well, it'll get you through warranty. Let's put it that way. But what's the warranty on your car? 36,000 miles? 100,000 miles? 60,000 miles? You might want to look at that. How long do you plan on keeping your car? Do you plan on keeping it just up to warranty and then getting rid of it? If that's the case, then I know some people don't even bother changing their oil. They do that. I'm serious. I got people I know that they're going to trade their car off on 36,000 miles. They get in it, they put gas in it, and they may change their oil once or twice. And then they trade the car off and they don't think anything about it. They got them a brand new car, they lease it, whatever. That's fine if that's what they want to do. And that's why I recommend always get a car checked out before you buy a used car. I don't care who you're buying it from. Get an independent third-party shop to look at it. If you don't get an independent third-party shop to look at it and you let the shop that's selling it, let the manufacturer who's selling you the car inspect it and say, oh, it's passed our 57-point inspection. What are you going to say, Anna Marie?
How would someone know that they're looking at a car to purchase, a used car to purchase? How would someone know, besides Carfax, how the maintenance has been done?
Well, a lot of times, a lot of cars have the maintenance schedules with them. A customer will sell you a car, and here's my maintenance schedule. And I know here at our shop, we're hooked up on Carfax. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was asking, how would someone know what kind of maintenance and how the maintenance has been done without a Carfax?
Well, you have to ask the person selling the car. Do you have the records for this car?
So there's no physical way for us to tell as a shop how the oil changes have been done, how they've been performed, frequently.
No, but I can look at how the car runs, what's coming out the tailpipe as far as hydrocarbons and emissions. I can listen to how the car starts up. And I can look at the oil. I can't really look at the oil pressure gauge per se. I can look on some of the newer cars. I can actually go to a scanner and see what my oil pressure is just on a scanner. Not all of them, but I can. I can see how many pounds per square inch I'm actually putting out on a scanner. I can see my fuel pressure. I can see all these things. But the biggest way is technicians can look. We can look if you've got sludge in your engine. I can take the cap off, look down inside of it, and go, wow, that looks like that thing's been running Quaker State motor oil from 1972. I'm just giving you an example. I'm just telling you some of the things we see. I can look at the tailpipe emissions on the 5-gas. I notice, hey, this car's got lots of NOx, NOx, oxides of nitrogen. That means there's a lot of carbon buildup on it. That means more than likely they've been not using top-tier fuel, and there's probably carbon buildup on it. And if it's a direct injection engine, yeah, I'll see misfire history. I'll see things that won't even put a check engine light on. Does that answer your question, Anna Marie?
Yeah, so you're looking at the oil cap, you're checking the emissions. So it's things that,
you look
looking
at the
oil cap, a regular person could look at the oil cap and say, is it clean or is it
gunky? Absolutely. Yes. taking the cap off where you put oil in and flipping it upside down, look at it. Is it full of moisture? Is it wet? Like you see water droplets in it? There may be a problem there. Could be a blown head gasket. Could be just a bad PCV valve that's not working properly. Could be. Or it could be the fact this car does a lot of short trips, never gets up to operating temperature, driven by a little old lady to church on Wednesday and Sunday morning. That may be it. So what I'm saying is, just because a car looks good doesn't mean it's maintained well. I see a lot of people who don't maintain cars well. And I see some people that maintain cars extremely well, and they're pushing 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 miles on their vehicles, and they're doing well with them. And they drive 100 to 200 miles a day. Those people do. They live in Bonifay, or they live in Chipley, or they live somewhere within about an hour's drive of Panama City. They drive to Panama.
Or they live in Parker and work on the beach.
That's even worse. And I try to tell people, that's not normal driving if you're having to drive an hour to work and stop and go driving. They say, well, I ran my car for an hour. That should be normal. I got up to operating temperature. Yeah, you got up to operating temperature and stop and go driving. It wasn't maintained at a constant speed. That's normal driving. And most people, as you and I well know, are not normal drivers. They're severe service drivers. And that affects a lot of problems in a car. Mark Sarlo, who's an automotive engineer, says, yeah, you can follow the owner's manual, but it's a minimum guide to get you through warranty. And yes, it says, maybe you need to put a blend in there, or maybe you need to put just regular oil in there. But I'm going to caution people out there. I would take that normal service condition that they're telling you that's in there, change your oil every 7,000 miles, whatever, cut it in half because you're a severe service driver. If you'll do that, I know it may be inconveniencing for you to change your oil twice a year. It's inconvenient for some people to change their oil, period. But change your oil. Change your antifreeze. Antifreeze every 2 years. Oil every 5 to 6,000 miles using full synthetic oil with a filter. These are just good common sense things to keep your second most expensive investment on the road. I used to tell people, I'm telling them people now, you need to be on a first name basis with your doctor, your lawyer, your minister, and your auto technician. I have talked to too many people that don't have a doctor, don't have I don't know if that's due to Obamacare or whatever, don't have a family doctor, that don't have a lawyer because they say, I don't need a lawyer, I can't afford one if I wanted one. I said, okay. How about your minister? You ain't got a minister either. And I said, why don't you have an auto technician? You've been living in Bay County for 30, 40 years and you don't have a shop. Well, I go to a shop and I get tired of them, I go to another shop. I said, you need to have relationships with shops. And that's what we try to do here at James Auto Center. Build a relationship. And that's what we're trying to do with you, to show you that we want to care. Our family wants to care about your family. Keep your family on the road, keep it safely, and keep it from being on the side of the road or being on the back of a tow truck. That's the thing we're trying to avoid. And it is avoidable, these things, such as tow trucks, by having your maintenance done, checking things out on a timely maintenance schedule, and you'll be surprised 200, 300,000 miles are easily able to be done by your vehicle. Hey, this is James Morris. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Give us a call tomorrow morning, 850-763-0555. I think Hanson's going to be along with Mark Sarlo on Friday morning show. Talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.